Hi there. In my last so-called Gnostic poem, To the Now, an Ode, I implied that the now is the creme de la creme mystic state of which God can be thought of as merely being the symbol representing the fact that the now is the the now consciousness is is of highest value, hence its connection or association or labeling, as one might say, as God. But I've been thinking about this deeply, and as the title of this video suggests, be in the now, but God be still in the now, but God still needs to be. And I suppose I'm arguing the existence of God from necessity, which in philosophy is not enough, of course. It's not enough to say we need God to exist. That doesn't guarantee that God does exist, whatever the word exist actually means. So in my poem, I sort of, it's fairly Buddhist, for Mahayana Buddhist anyway, in that there is a deity, but that deity is empty. That deity is symbolic of the meat and potatoes, which is the mystic conscious state of the now, which is of highest value. But I think that there is more to this, and indeed theism sort of answers the question, is there more than this, looking around at both the contents of the world and the contents of our minds. Is there more than this? Is there something yet to attain or yet to experience or yet to become one with? And the answer is there is, and that entity is called the deity or God or the transcendental God in Gnostic terms. So you have here the mystic state, the conscious state of the now, which is this blue and red figure here, a sort of a lozenge figure, as it were, because it represents a gateway to a transcendental state, the focusing of the consciousness on the now, and the being that arises from the now, and the bliss that is attained when the consciousness is successfully focused on the now, even if in temporary terms. And of course, that temporary nature of the consciousness, the impermanence of it, cites this experience, this mystic experience in this world. And of course, by this world, I mean everything that is this. And I wave my hand around, and the room here, and this computer, and myself, and you, and the human world, the natural world. Well, it's all natural, but the world. And so, therefore, the now is both in the world, because that's where our consciousness is focused, even if it's on the sort of transcendental state. And it is certainly of the world because it is possibly anchored by the breath, awareness of the breath, and also it's achieve the now or a sense of the now through ritual or mantram, or prayer, a Jesus prayer or the rosary, or some other means of achieving the state of consciousness of the now. So in that respect, it is of the world. And since it is of the world and in the world, it is open, of course, to corruption, because everything in the world is corrupt, corrupted, and corrupting, corruptible, one might say. And what do I mean by this? Well, I mean the fact the sort of concept of the graven image comes into it here, because it could be that to attain the now is to set up a graven image, is to set up, well, in thelemic terms, a lust of result, something which has to be attained, something which has to be attained in order for you to be a good person, or to be one of us, or even to be a good American. One can see straight away that that a controlling thought system might arise from transcendental meditation, even a cult, or certainly a sort of religion based on politics and power. So immediately, the now, which is a simple, spontaneous, natural awareness of the moment, here and now, anchored by the breath awareness, can quickly become something basically of the world, worldly, because it is in the world and indeed of the world. And that's the nature of the beast, as it were. So this idea of the graven image is that people make something out of nothing. They make something which is simple, natural, spontaneous, and beautiful, into something corrupted, and ugly, and based on power and thought control. Nothing is immune from this worldliness, from this worldly process of becoming corrupt. What to do? Well, the only way is to have something which is greater than the experience of the now, something which is something of which we cannot conceive, so something other than the now, that potentially we can become conscious of, and that is God, that is the deity. And then notice that the deity in this sort of golden sphere is partly outside the world. Well, actually, in a way, it's transcendent of the world completely. But where the circle of the deity overlaps the circle of the world, that's when we get Jesus, the avatar of God, coming in. That's where we get the angels, the saints, and the idea of grace. These things arise, and Jesus arises. Well, I'd say arises, but that's not exactly what I want to say, because before Abraham was, I am. So the word arises cannot apply to Jesus, theologically speaking. But anyway, Jesus is incident upon the world during his lifetime and after, and still today, because he is the bridge, the psychopomp, between soul and the deity, to put it in Gnostic terms, not strictly Christian theological terms, but in Gnostic terms at any rate. You have the deity, and you have the world, and you have Jesus, or the saints, or grace, intervening, or between the two dimensions. I don't know. The words are very difficult, really, aren't they? Because they're so loaded, and you have to define your terms very strictly according to philosophy, which, of course, in religion, in theology, and in mysticism, is it's the opposite of philosophical definition. So words are not really like walking sticks; they're more like parachutes, to stop us. Well, to stop us plunging into the ground of incoherence and madness, even. But anyway, I digress. So the idea of the now, you have to have something greater than the now. So God, for example, conceptually speaking, is x plus one. You've got x, which is any integer up to infinity, and God is always plus one. And I suppose, really, since God is infinity, then maybe some integers will approach infinity, but they won't exceed infinity, or they won't even be as one with infinity, because infinity is as it is, and infinity is the transcendental deity. And I suppose the now, symbolized by this lozenge shape, represents maybe a door, a portal to infinity. Um, but it's not equal to, because the now is in and of, to a certain extent, of the world. And because of that, it's subject to limitation and corruption and scarcity, even. One might even say mood, because, you might enter into the state, the blessed state of the now, but entering into it depends upon all other things being equal, and a level playing field, and being in the right mood, and not too stressed out by the world and by its lures, and its layers, and its snares. So you can't make the now into something greater than sliced bread, even, and you certainly can't make the now greater than God, because otherwise then it becomes a worldly graven image, which is corruptible, corrupting, and corrupted, as the world is. And I mean, you are a witness to that during your lifetime, to the truth of that statement, and the truth of that statement will out every time. But and yet, beyond the experience of the now and of this world, is the experience, potentially the experience of deity. But as I said in the beginning, because we need deity to be greater even than the experience of the now, that need does not necessarily mean that God exists. And therefore, God can still be thought of as a symbol, only as a symbol. Or in Mahayana Buddhist terms, God is empty of existence, and full of Dharma, or teaching, which is not the same as non-existence, but Dharma, is all you need, all that is needed for for the, to exist. So you don't need God as an old man in a cloud, because Dharma, is of such great importance that it bestows existence on God, even though the God does not have existence in terms that we understand at the moment. Hence the idea that deities in Mahayana Buddhism are empty of existence in the way that we would know existence, but full of Dharma, full of teaching, full of the power, the energy of the teaching of the Buddha. So obviously, with modern Gnosticism, you know, uh, the crossovers between Gnosticism and Buddhism, for example, are very great, especially with Mahayana Buddhism. And perhaps you might not agree with my definition of emptiness, but that's how I understand it. Empty of existence as we would know it, but full of Dharma, which is existence which perhaps comes before worldly existence. In the same way as you've got prana, prana is generated by the breath, but pra means before, and na means breath. So prana is before the breath. So before the breath was, prana is. And before the world was, Jesus is, and the avatars of Christ are, and the saints, and grace itself. Um, so I don't know. I don't want to turn this into a sort of confusing mystical contemplation. I mean, the practical application of this is to do with is how you practice consciousness of the now, because it's not, I might say, practice spontaneously, but spontaneity, it does not mean neglect on one hand, and it doesn't mean slavish adherence on the other, nor does it even mean sort of regular. That there's a kind of spontaneity here, and then there's slavish sort of religious application here. And if you don't do the meditation, you're not a good person. You're not a good American. That kind of thought control thing. It's not even regularity as such. There's a sort of state of mind which is not exactly spontaneous. It's not exactly regular. It's certainly not slavish adherence to dogma or rule, as it were. It's sort of loose regularity, as one might say, and it's a sort of it's you don't crave the now. It doesn't become something that again you crave and you have to have, like you have to have drugs. Although it's difficult to see how simple breath awareness could ever be like heroin addiction. But I suppose it could become an obsession. It certainly could become a source of mind control over other people. And that's what I've been saying throughout this video. We don't want that. We want a sort of regularity, but also mixed with a sort of spontaneity, realizing that deity is above and beyond even the blessed state of now consciousness, and transcends that blessed state, and is something that we have yet to experience, although potentially we can experience it temporarily in this world through consciousness of the now. Even though we are in this world and of this world, we can attain redemption, as it were, by experiencing the now. So I suppose really Gnosticism, modern Gnosticism, as I say, draws on many different religious paths and disciplines to make its point, and yet still repudiates and rejects and understands the world which it ultimately rejects, which is ultimately rejected by soul, as soul attains not exactly oneness with God, but certainly attunement to God, close proximity to God, one might say. Which of course is another another whole video to discuss oneness versus proximity. But anyway, so I would say, you don't need to believe in God in order to experience the now. You don't need to, perhaps if you're a practicing Buddhist, you don't really need religion at all. And you don't really understand the contents of this video. You wonder why this video exists and whether or not this is a little bit of neurosis on the part of the person who's made the video, that the belief in God is a neurotic response. If you believe in yourself, if you believe in the now, you don't have any need to believe in something greater and higher and other than you. So if that's the case, then okay, I won't. I'm not here to judge you, and perhaps the judgment is upon myself rather than on anyone else, which of course pure judgment should always be on yourself rather than anybody else. Because who are you to judge? Who are you to judge others if you are not another person? You can't possibly judge. So I sort of created this video and its contents in response to my poem. If you like to put the other point of view, the theistic point of view, as opposed to perhaps the Buddhist point of view, which is mystical in its own right, of course, but not theistic necessarily. So whether this makes any difference to the practice of experiencing the now, I don't know. I would just say that when you come out of the experience of the now, my point is that an appreciation of God as being other and greater and well, certainly other than you, with which you attain close proximity, is necessary for some people who come out of that experience of the now and could turn it into a jamboree, could turn it into the kind of circus that this world delights to turn everything into. On that kind of hopefully non-judgmental note, I leave you with the injunction to practice going into the now on a sort of spontaneous, regularly spontaneous basis, or spontaneously regular basis, whichever you want to think about. And that's basically all you need to do. And then other experiences and contemplations hopefully will arise from the attainment of now consciousness.